Hi, this is Cindi McGee. Today I'm using items from the Mandala Madness CreateAlong box to create this pretty Mandala Trinket tin. Today I'm going to be embellishing the round tin that came in the Mandala Madness CreateAlong box, and I'm using Primo Sculpey Accents Gold, which I've conditioned and rolled to a setting number 3 on my clay machine. Starting with one of the polymer trading coin stencils in the mandala design that came in this month's box, and place it face down onto that clay sheet. Use your clay roller to press it into place. You want to raise up the clay in it. We're going to be cutting around it later to create a decorative element for the top of the tin. Right now I'm just going to use this larger round cutter to cut out some of the excess. And then just trim away a little bit more of it. You don't have to be perfect because we're going to use that other round cutter to clean up the edges later, but I don't want too much excess clay there to catch the color fuse that I'm going to be using. I'm using Color Fuse Enamel from CreateAlong.com to highlight those raised up mandala areas. And this is one of the colors from my Cindy's Peacocks collection of Color Fuse. It's sort of a turquoise with bits of sparkly purple. It's really pretty when it's heat set. And I'm just going to apply a little bit to the surface, and then I'm going to use my fingers to press it down into place over the surface of that stencil. Use a soft brush to brush away any excess, and then bring back and add any more if you want to here and there, and then return the rest of that color fuse back to your little jar for use later. Now you want to really carefully remove that stencil off the surface. If you just take your clay blade, you can lift it and then really carefully peel it away a bit. Once you get it freed from that stencil, just place it back down on the tile and use your round cutter that's the same size as the stencil to cut around it and get a perfect circle. I'm going to mount it to the top of my tin, the lid on my tin, and I'm just going to put a little bacon bond on first and then very gently set it on and pat it down. At this point, I went ahead and put my lid into the preheated oven and baked it for about 25 minutes just to begin to set that powder so that it didn't all come free when I did the rest of the steps. Okay, to make the clay for the side of the tin, I rolled some more of that gold clay to a setting number 3. And I just want to make sure that my strip is long enough to go all the way around my tin. So I'm just going to kind of roll it over the surface to make sure that I've got enough. And then I'm going to silk screen it. And I'm using the Radiant Sunshine Silk Screen that came in my Mandala Madness CreateAlong box this month. I'm going to place it orange side down onto that clay strip. Give it a little press. I like to roll it a bit just to make sure it stays in place. And I'm going to silkscreen with DecoArt's Dazzling Metallics paint, and this is Peacock Pearl. Silkscreen the first section, then let that dry. Wash your silkscreen right away, and once that first image is dry, you can silkscreen the next section. Okay, now my paint is dry and I'm going to come back and silkscreen the next section. I'm just going to line it up as best I can so that it meets up with that first silkscreened image so that there's no gap. And silkscreen with the same Peacock Pearl paint. Okay, now that our paint is all dry, it's time to trim this up and adhere it to the base of the tin. I'm just going to straighten out this bottom edge first. I could measure it, but I'm an eyeballer, so I'm just going to take my tin and gently roll it over the surface so that the ridge at the top makes an indentation so that I know where to cut the top edge. Add some Bacon Bond over the base of the tin. You want to stay beneath the line where the cover is going to be, and then wrap your strip around it. Press it firmly to try to avoid any bubbles. Trim it as needed and then smooth the seam together. I used a silicone tip tool to help smooth my seam, and I also gently rolled it along that bottom edge to make it more flush with the tin so that it's not just a rough edge, it's more of a curved, smoothed into the tin edge. Next, I added a little Bacon Bond around the decorative element on the lid and rolled that gold clay out to a 0. That was the first setting on my Atlas machine. And I'm using my Etch and Pearl tool, my Sculpey Etch and Pearl tool, to make some little gold pearls. And I'm going to put them all the way around the lid on the outer edge. Sort of as a last decorative touch and to pick up the touch of purple that's in that color fuse powder that I used, I'm using these purple metallic hot fix elements from CreateAlong. And I did go ahead and I went around the edge first and sort of counted and figured out how my spacing would work as far as coming out equally so that I had equally spaced little elements. And in my case, it worked out that I had 2 blank pearls between every purple pearl. I added a few of those metallic purple elements to the mandala on the top. I did use a little touch of Bacon Bond just to hold them in place since I pre-baked that lid a bit. And I'm also going to place them in the center of the medallions on the clay strip around the base of the tin. I decided I wanted to add a little bit of that peacock pearl paint around the outer edge of the lid of the tin. I'm going to put the first coat on and then go ahead and bake the whole thing, and then I will continue with additional coats if I need to. And here's a closer look at the finished tin. I love how the stencil pushed into the clay sheet raises up the design in addition to giving you the place to add the color. I think this would be a great gift for someone too.